Welcome back, everybody, to Season 1 of 2018 for the ETS Week 1 Top 8. We are in the semifinals. I am Calimdir, also known as Gabe, and joining me in the casting booth today is Sir Rhino to commentate these final matches.
Yeah, here we go. 4 players remain. Winner goes to the finals for this match, and we have Missing Toes on Felm Scream Reanimator up against alarmadillo on Xenon Midrange. So we saw alarmadillo on coverage earlier today, taking out Bruised by God, I believe was that matchup. We haven't seen Missing Toes specifically, but we have seen this deck. A number of players showed up with essentially this exact list, where you're playing a mix of Scream and big reanimation targets to have the ultimate void crazy, just explosive reanimator deck that has a whole lot of consistency thanks to the additional, nightfall draws and nocturnal observer looting and being a body up front as well.
Yeah, this one has been a surprise for me. Let me tell you, I was not expecting to see Scream Reanimator in the top 8, and I'm excited that it's doing so well here.
Yeah, the last time I took Scream Reanimator to a tournament, I think I went like maybe 4-2, missed top 8, and Lights Out Ace knocked me out, and it was awful. But it's got some new toys. It's gotten quite a bit stronger, and with less Desert Marshals than ever being played, it can really just do dumb things. Tristero was 8-0, and then ran into this deck. And let me tell you, Praxis cannot beat this deck. Like, holy cow, talk about a nightmare. But we'll see what Xenon can do as this game gets underway. Alarmadillo is very low in interaction, which is exactly what this Felm deck wants to be up against.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier when we saw Alarmadillo on camera, but his version of Xenon has very little interaction and is more about grinding out the game with Xenon obelisks and lots of dinky creatures. And Missing Toes is more than happy to oblige in that strategy. Just let him sit around and then play a Vera and just completely obliterate him in value.
Yeah, and when we say Alarmadillo's low interaction, we mean almost none. We're talking 0 Annihilates, 0 Vera's Choice in the main, 0 Banish, 2 Death Strike. Like 2 Death Strike, 2 Xenon Initiation, that's it.
That is
but
it.
He can still go on the beatdown, and that's what he's trying to do here with Wasp into Dawnwalker. The problem is Rindra's a 5/5 with Lifesteal, and Vera is already in the void.
I don't know. Wasp is a pretty threatening attacker up there. I mean, he's deadly, Watch out.
Yeah. And, the best thing Alarmadillo can have to prevent Screams is Sandstorm Titan. And he has 2 of those plus a Dark to return. So more Sandstorm Titans than Missing Toes currently has removal for. Problem is, even if you get into a board stall, a bunch of Veras could end up just doing way too much damage. And here we see more looting occurring. Both Veras will go into the void. I'm guessing one of these Titans will get removed this turn. Interesting attack.
I don't hate this, right? Because if he annihilates in combat, he actually gets to deal the full 5 damage. That's something interesting about Trample, or about, Overwhelm.
Square Jar.
Yep. Oopsie. About Overwhelm. Because typically you want to annihilate before combat to avoid getting blocked at all and miss your damage, but with a card like Rindra, it's fine. And that's going to be a Vera, and another Vera, and a Rindra.
Yep, Vera, Rindra. Night will continue to fall. That's 2 6/6s on the board that Alarmadillo has to deal with. And now that pesky Wasp is out of the way, Missing Toes has a shot at casting 2 removal spells this next turn and just basically killing Alarm.
Up and Dawnwalker is some void recursion, but not on the same level as Vera.
All right, well, Missing Toes misses on undepleted power, so the Annihilate and Feeding Time can't come out. Of course, if you kill one Vera and not the other, the one Vera brings the other one back. So this is a tough spot for Alarmadillo as we see the double block on Vera, and now Missing Toes just casts a Beast Caller or Fanatic, doesn't really matter which, and that just brings back Vera.
Yeah, seems pretty good. Kind of like he wants some card that kills Vera, like Annihilate.
Yeah.
Or perhaps something that stops units from doing things in the void, like perhaps Steward of the Past.
Yeah. For the record, there were 0 Steward of the Past in the top 8. I think that's
there might have been 0
like
across the board.
Did Unearthly have any in his sideboard? Maybe. Other than that, I don't think any other deck even had the opportunity to play it other than Alarmadillo, and there are none in Alarmadillo's sideboard.
Yeah, he's gonna try and do his best here, trying to keep up with these Dawnwalkers. But a third Vera, I mean, which he can discard with this Nocturnal Observer and just get back immediately. Plus more removal, plus the 2 Veras on the board. It's just way too much.
Yeah, there's no need to be discarding Veras with Nightfall Observers. You're just gonna hardcast that one eventually. Just kill your opponent, and that's what we see here. Just that early double Vera, or even late game double Vera, is hard to beat. Whenever she shows up, she's taken over the game. You've got to have the answers for it. But this Xenon deck, we said, just doesn't have the answers. Only 2 Vera's choice in the side, even. Like, that is a rough spot to be.
Yeah, this Felon Reanimator deck is doing some very powerful stuff, which is really cool. You don't usually get to see a lot of an Eternal, a lot of these sort of unfair, as in like cheating cards into play or getting more value than you're paying for.
Yeah, this is a strong deck that can withstand actually having answers. And when it gets a playground like this where nobody's even putting up resistance to it, that's where we see it put up pretty good results. A lot of players brought this deck, though, and only one ended up in the top 8. So I think there was enough answers throughout the tournament today that only Missing Toes managed to make it into the top 8. But this is looking like a very good top 8 for Missing Toes. We'll see if he can keep up the success in this second game.
Yeah, this deck definitely does have answers, and it also isn't the most consistent deck of all time.
Oh, yeah.
So it can just definitely lose to itself. But this version that we've gotten with Strategize and Nocturnal Observer is much more consistent than versions we have, which is why we've seen it do so well today.
Yeah, I think I'd still like to see a little more discard in this deck. Like, it has 10 kind of discard spells, but only 6 that are in the hand. So there's been some versions that had more than that, like the 4 Blind Storyteller, 4 Herald Song versions. So that's where you can run into some issues like this right here, where you just, at least you get to play out your Fanatics and Beast Colors, but you're not getting your Veras into the Voids for this Grasping at Shadows. You're just going to morph into playing it as an 8-drop.
Yeah, this is the problem when you draw the wrong reanimation spell. He really wants to see Scream here.
Yeah.
And he's got the Grasp. And if he has the Grasp, he really wants to see Nocturnal Observer, which he doesn't have it. But he's still going to attack in here. Gets a little bit of value by taking out this Dawnwalker for at least a turn. And having the Gorgon Fanatic in the Void isn't bad at all.
No, that's okay. And now Alarmadillo will get to drop the Titan. No fear of the Scream yet. Of course, Missing Toes has Annihilate, but kind of the secret problem for Missing Toes here isn't just the Titan in play. It's that Friendly Wisp, just the 1/1 flyer. So even if you find the Scream, the Wisp will be in the way as we see it get held back here.
Yeah, and Vera's Favor next turn is probably going to take care of this Beast Caller if Alarmadillo doesn't have any power. And then after that, a Dark Return for a second Sandstorm Titan is going to be very difficult for Missing Toes to beat. Because now that he's drawn the Scream, but still hasn't found the discard for Vera, puts in a rough spot. And he took long enough to set it up that he won't really be able to get great value out of Vera, I don't think.
Yeah. Like, typically we'll see these Xenon mid-range lists play like 2 Dark Return max. Alarmadillo's on the full 4 Dark Return, and that's why we've seen like every game he somehow just has an unlimited stream of Sandstorm Titans that annoys opponents to death.
Yeah, I mean, what's better than Sandstorm Titan? More Sandstorm Titans. It's the best card in the game.
Yeah, but here we see Vera's Favor take out one of these Direwood Beast Callers. We'll see Alarmadillo slam on the attacks, but wisely hold back this Friendly Wisp. It's the last thing standing between him and a screamed out unit if the Sandstorm Titan does go down. So really good play from Alarmadillo here.
Yeah, and I think as much as Dark Return is a response, or I think that both of these decks are a response to the lack of Desert Marshals and Stewards in the metagame right now. Having the 4 Dark Returns and being an entire Reanimator deck. So this is a pretty good chance here for Missing Toes to finally get in And he chooses...
He forgot about the friendly
Yeah,
wisp.
he forgot about the friendly wisp.
I saw him bottom the Varus favor, and I was like, that's weird. That's your answer to friendly wisp. And then I saw him annihilate on his main phase. I'm like, that's weird. You want to do that on their end step so that you don't let them dark return it. And then we saw the screen come out, and then, yeah, that was not great for Missing Toes there.
No, it wasn't good.
Now, what this does set up is if you discard Vera here, and then like it sets up your grasping if they don't bring back Sandstorm Titan. The problem is they brought back Sandstorm Titan.
Well, there's an Annihilate, but I also would have just liked to see Fnatic. As much as 2 5/5s is good, I think you want to, like, since you're almost a combo deck with this Reanimator deck,
yeah,
you kind of just want to keep your engine going.
I think Missing Toes was under a lot of pressure, and he intentionally wanted his Scream Beast Caller to die there. Like, he thought his only way of winning was his opponent basically does nothing the next turn, and then he gets 2 5/5s and tries to stabilize off that. I don't think it was a mistake. I think that's what he was trying to do. I just don't know if I would have taken that line.
Yeah. It was a rough game. There was a lot of stuff to think about there.
But anyways, that means the series is evened up going into sideboardings. And I think that will help out the Xenon deck more than the Reanimator deck, as far as linear versus flexible answers.
Yeah, I agree. Not because there's particularly amazing answers in the Xenon deck, but just because like you said, the Reanimator deck isn't very flexible. Let's go over what we think Missing Toes. I'm looking at the Annihilates more than anything, and maybe the extra feeding time.
Yeah, the feeding time's kind of nice too because your opponent's on so many dark returns, and the games hopefully won't be so fast that you get punished for playing 3 copies of it. And Venom Spine Hydra's kind of nice too. Especially if you're bringing in extra Annihilates, you can then annihilate your Hydras, and your opponent is going to be upping the interaction, but it's still going to have trouble dealing with 7/7 that if it dies wipes their whole board. I like those are the standout cards for me. Maybe the Snow Crush Animus gets shaved. The Harbingers are still kind of useful, although your opponent is on 4 obelisks, so maybe it won't always wipe the board the way you want it to.
It's a little rough to figure out what to take out because you kind of just want all your cards. Yeah, that's how combo decks work. But yeah, the cards to bring in are like you said, Annihilate and Venom Spine Hydra, because Venom Spine Hydra against a deck that just doesn't have any way to silence it is basically a 7/7 unblockable, or just you kill it and you probably lose the game anyway.
Meanwhile, on the other end, as this game looks like the challenge is coming out, Alarmadillo has Sabotage, Annihilate, Varus Choice, Banish, Deathstrike, Devastating Setback, all in the sideboard. And I think there's an argument to bring in almost any of these cards for this matchup.
Yeah, the -/ is huge against Scream because that permanently removes those units. You can't Scream them back if they have 0 health, and they would just die instantly even if you could.
Yeah, and the cool thing with Devastating Setback in this matchup is if it's not killing anything relevant, you can hit their hand and take out some spells that are either potentially hitting your Sandstorm Titan or something. So even though Devastating Setback's a little slow, I think both modes are very strong in this matchup that I would think about playing it. Now, you are playing a lot of small units on your own end, so there is the collateral damage problem, but
this is a rough one. Are you seeing this?
Yeah.
So strategize not finding any shadow influence for Missing, and he has 0 castable cards in hand. This could be over very quickly.
Yeah, we talked about how Reanimator could have some inconsistency issues. This isn't quite the inconsistency issues we were referring to as far as power base goes. They weren't playing the full 12 dual faction sources, but this is more of a stuck on 2 problem more than anything, although having a shadow source would unlock the Varus favor at least.
Yeah, and that would do a lot here. Take out an Amber Acolyte. I mean, this game's not over. It's close to it, but it's definitely not over. Like, had that been a Sandstorm Titan, Missing Toes would have been very, very close to dead.
Yeah.
But just not having any threats come out for Alarmadillo for at least this turn does give Missing Toes a little bit now that he's drawn this shadow source. We do know there's a World Bear coming out though. And
World Bear's coming out, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
But honestly, if Missing Toes draws Herald Song here, he could just win the game on the next turn.
True.
Like that's how explosive this deck is. He just draws Herald Song, discards 2 Veras, like boom, done.
Well,
But instead draws another reanimation spell. Not quite what the doctor ordered, but Rindra will come out, be a 5/5 overwhelm lifesteal. Hopefully draw him into some action. Again, if Missing Toes can just stay alive here, good stuff will happen. But now you're filling your opponent's draws. Looks like a Titan is now in Alarmadillo's hand, an Annihilate, and getting some extra power as well.
and Alarmadillo could have played out a Rhino before World Bear to try and play into Annihilate or something like that, get the Annihilate out of hand first. But World Bear just means World of Hurt.
Yeah,
because
and
Rindra can't do anything about that.
Yeah, and the payoff there is that World Bear gets you undepleted power. In this case, it hit a time sigil. So now Sandstorm Titan and Interrogator comes out. So you get to leverage those extra cards you got from that Nightfall from Rindra.
This is a losing battle that Missing Toes is fighting here. He's desperately trying to stay alive, but it's going to be very difficult for him to come back, if not
Especially
impossible.
Yeah. That Titan coming down means not even like some crazy haunting scream shenanigans will bail you out here.
Yeah, I mean, he just doesn't have the power to. He needed to already have cast Nocturnal Observer or Herald Song to get these Veras in the Void, because the only thing that saves him is casting a Grasp for something huge, and he can't discard and cast Grasp in the same.
And this was going back to my one concern I was talking about, where I think they might want to find room for 1 or 2 more discard outlets in this build, because, man, when you don't have it and you have all these Veras rotten in hand, it does not feel good.
Was this, did Instigator come down this turn?
Instigator? Oh, Interrogator?
Or
that was
Interrogator.
last turn. Yeah,
Yeah,
they opted to not swing with it.
Yeah, it would have just gotten eaten by Rindra, but I mean, that means you don't give him the double block. I don't know. I think it's a little bit conservative on Alarmadillo's side, but I think he's still going to just take this game very cleanly anyway.
Yeah, I'm always a fan of A spacing or doing as much as you can close to A spacing. Here we see another World Bear Behemoth come down and then Dark returning the Titan. So not using your power maybe in the most efficient manner, but
Yeah, but at this point, it doesn't really matter. Missing Toes just doesn't have any outs.
Missing Toes is at 7, and if they play the Amethyst Waystone, they go to 6, but they're not going to live that long anyways, although the Rindra at least get lifesteal.
Yeah, if he plays the Amethyst Waystone and Alarmadillo attacks everything, I believe he lives. He's just going to get an extra Trump blocker. But, I mean, there's just what's his out after that. He has to draw Herald Song, discard a Vera, and draw an undepleted power source, and then cast Grasp to get back Vera and Rindra.
We found it. But
that's rough.
Wisp is another flying blocker. Sandstorm Titan will draw some cards. Alarmadillo trying to maybe find a removal spell that hits Rindra to push through lethal this turn. So this still might just be like 12 overwhelm damage. Let's see, you gain 5, so you go to 12. And yeah, I'm not going to do the math.
He's still alive. He's still alive.
A lot of power.
It is, but he's alive for 1 turn at least. Oh, wow,
that is not the block that blocks the most damage.
That's also not the block that keeps him alive. That puts him at dead. I could be wrong though. He might be alive at 1. No, I think he's dead.
He'll be dead at 0. So the block that keeps him alive is what? Rindra on a Behemoth and the 3/2 on the 4.
Yep, that is the only block he had available to him.
But anyways, as you said, the game was basically over anyways, as now Alarmadillo's up 2-1 after that dominating game 1 from Missing Toes.
Well, we could very easily see it turn around here in games 3 and 4. Games 4 and 5.
Yep. We'll see what happens here as game 4 gets away.
Yeah, and a pretty reasonable opening for Alarmadillo. Nothing too fancy, nothing too fast, but very smooth. He's going to have all the power he wants, and he does have a reasonable threat in World Bear once he gets.
It is slow, but as you said, consistent. It'll probably find more gas in the tank, and it'll have all the fixing at once. Yeah, the Amber Monument doing its job of being flood prevention while also sometimes being power. Meanwhile, Missing Toes, again, doesn't have any discard outlets, but has all the threats in the world.
He could potentially go something like play Direwood Beastcaller, next turn devour it, draw into Haunting Scream it, which could be very powerful. Oh, there's the Venom Spine Hydra we're talking about, which I think is very good in this matchup, but not great right now.
Yeah, opting to go with Fnatic instead of trying to get the 2/5/5s plan, trying to smooth out the draws with Fnatic. Also, this dodges Annihilate if you care about that as far as an edge. Alarmadillo goes with Xenon Obelisk this turn because they had nothing else to do and they drew a Xenon Obelisk for the turn.
I don't know how much I love this play here. It feels like it just does the least out of everything he could have done there.
Do you like swinging with Fnatic, but you're going to devour it, so it doesn't matter that you swung with it?
Well, you could swing with Fnatic and then play Direwood Beastcaller, which also isn't great. Like trading for a Temple Scribe isn't great. I guess he just wants to get down Rindra, which I think is fair. When you're facing down these two little creatures and an obelisk, Rindra's going to do a lot of work towards buying you time.
Yeah, Missing Toes has shifted from being Reanimator here to being almost big control. Right?
Yeah,
you have a Hydra and a Vera in hand. It's going to be tough for Alarmadillo to go over the top of that. So he's just opting to try and curve out as best as he can into those.
And yeah, now he's just going to try and block with this Rindra. Taking a lot of damage here, though. 6 and then 7 from Nightfall trigger. And he's probably not going to gain any life off of this Rindra.
Yeah, out comes the Sabotage from Alarmadillo. Doesn't see anything great, though.
Grasp is a pretty...
There's a Grasp, but at this stage, like, your opponent's Void doesn't even have anything in it except for Gorgon Fnatic. So, honestly, the Strategizer Vera's favor may be more tempting to take. And there we see the Strategize get thrown out.
And that's actually a pretty bad for Missing Toes. That definitely hurts a lot when he is struggling to find any discard outlets and really wants to hit a power every turn to be able to hit Venom Spine Hydra and Vera at a reasonable time. Feeding Time is going to keep him alive, but it's still pretty rough.
No, Feeding Time, will take out this World Bear Behemoth. He could swing to gain 5, but then he's just taking 5 on the backswing from the Acolyte and Scribe. So,
I think it's still better. Your opponent's still down 5 life.
Yeah, your opponent's down 5 life, and you don't have to worry about removal on your Rindra.
It is a lot worse if opponent drops another Xenon Obelisk, though.
That is true, but then there's also the chance that they draw like Vera's Choice and bounce it to your hand.
Yeah.
So there's reasons to do either line of play. Missing Toes opts to just hold it back, and in comes the Rheinarch again. Down comes a Wasp and a Titan, and Alarmadillo needs one more power to fully activate this Obelisk. Meanwhile, Missing Toes gets to play a Venom Spine Hydra.
Venom Spine Hydra here is great. Unfortunately, Rindra loses lifesteal, though. And that is going to be huge.
And Alarmadillo just drew a second Obelisk on 8 power. And that means Missing Toes is
death.
Whew! All right. Who needs interaction when you just have the biggest stuff ever? In bashes all of the units, the old 5/5 Temple Scribe. And wow. Yeah. What are you going to do? The reverse sweep.
Sting is mad that I called it a 1-3 earlier. But yeah, that's 3-1, like you said, for Alarmadillo. First ever ETS, making it all the way to the finals. So that's super exciting.
Yeah, I mean, and a nice comeback there. Missing Toes just totally like stomped on Alarmadillo in that first game. And we thought like, oh man, Reanimator might just be the thing to take over the tournament. And then you know what? Titans and Obelisks and Ions, and we didn't even see an Ion in any of those games. It was just Titans, Obelisks, giant dinosaurs. There's nothing wrong with that, man. That's just America right there, right?
Yep. And Missing Toes still earned themselves some invitational points. Top 8s, especially every win you get in top 8 is worth a lot, and then each win they got in Swiss helped them as well. So that's exciting. And then now we get to see our final match with being Alarmadillo and the winner of Second Blue versus Farrad's Bro. Second Blue being Farrad's Bro being the Skycrag Aggo we saw
And second blue is on Grenadins, right? They
Yes,
just
yes.
beat Unearthly in the rematch of back-to-back matches. So Grenadins probably likes the Skycrag matchup for the most part, especially the Skycrag list that's super light on flyers, right? No kind of fire maws, a couple of Soulfire Drakes out the side. But we're gonna try and duck it and see what game they're on in this match or up. So we're working on getting that backup match. But in the meantime, yeah, wow, this Xenon, it was turns out Auric Interrogator is still a really good card. Who knew?
Yeah, Orc
Xenonopolis is still a
Interrogator,
good
people
card.
just kind of stopped playing it, but it didn't really get any worse. It kind of got worse for a time because in response to Auric Interrogator, people started playing bigger Auric Interrogator decks,
Yeah,
and then it just became awful.
that's
But
basically what happened at Worlds. Was like me and
yeah,
Lights Out Ace qualified with the deck. I helped build it, and we were like, well, this is probably the best deck. But everybody's going to want to beat this deck, so let's also try and beat this deck. Like we thought everybody's going to be on Dawnwalker and Auric Interrogator, so we loaded up on Strain to Shadow and went big Xenon, and so did a lot of other people with other kind of bigger mid-range decks or try to go under it. And then everybody kind of just stopped playing Auric Interrogator but now it's still a good card. It hasn't changed. Kind of like how Tavrod's making a comeback, and all good cards. It's all cyclical, right? It'll
yeah,
show up again at some point. Xenon's been a little annoying to play lately because it didn't get a crest, but the deck's still good.
yeah, definitely. I don't know if we have anything on camera, but I can confirm that both players are still in game.
Yeah, and it turns out that they are in the middle of game 3, tied up 1-1. So these have been some grindy games. I guess our games have been a little bit quick because one, either Missing Toes did something broken or
Didn't
yeah,
or didn't.
or Armadillo just beat the hell out of him while he spun his wheels and was stuck on power and didn't have any discard outlets.
Yeah, so I'm currently watching a 25-25 scrap tank on the side of second blue. I think that these games have been grindy because it's just been because of how long it takes for Grenadins to win.
Yeah, second blue is at 24 health. So is Farad's Bro. Has a flying Borderlands Waykeeper, which is pretty cool. But second blue has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 cards in hand. And just made 6 Dire Fang Spiders. Oh, and hey, Steward of the Past is in second blue's deck. So there's the Stewards that were in top 8.
Yep, there they are.
And
And
this
yeah,
looks
this looks
good for
bad.
second blue.
Yeah, bad for Ferrets, bro. Good for second blue.
Yeah, second blue seems to be winning this game, and we're going to be going to Stone Scar Scrapper is alive, Scrap Tank is alive. That is a whole lot of life gain. Doesn't really matter if there's one Borderlands Waykeeper going here. Second blue is just gaining way too much life.
Yeah, this is gonna be over pretty quick.
Double Suffocate will end it.
Yeah, double suffocate and it plus torch.
There we go. Tavrot or Vadius goes down. Nothing stands in the way of Scrap Tank, which is a 31-31.
That's a premium Stone Scar Scrapper. Looking pretty good.
Yeah, I'm into it. I am all about Stone Scar Scrapper. We were talking earlier about how the whole set wasn't fully spoiled, and we were like, "Yo, this Unseen Commando is something." Same thing happened with Stone Scar Scrapper. I'm like, "Wait, 4, 6, or 5, and you're doing what now? You get to sacrifice 2, draw 2. All right, that sounds like a Brimstone Altar I can get behind."
Yeah.
And I was always talking about how I wanted a Brimstone Altar that gained life. This one only does it if you sacrifice Grenadins, but
yeah. Stone Scar Scrapper is everything that Direwood Prowler wanted it to be.
I can buy that. Yeah, it was real fun when I was first building that deck, and people were like, "Why aren't you playing Prowler instead?" I was like, "Let me show you. Allow me to demonstrate." Yeah, that card is sick, and we see that now. Second blue goes up 2-1 in this series, and it'll on the Skycrag deck to make the comeback.
So who do you think is favored in this matchup? Because I have my own opinions, but I'm interested in what you think.
I like Grenadins in this matchup.
Yeah.
It's an aggro deck that doesn't have it's up against an aggro deck with not a ton of evasion. Yeah, there's some quick draw units here and there. Not a lot of flyers. So even if they get very large units via War Cries, you should be able to stall long enough to get the engine going. Again, that doesn't mean that you're going to win every time. I think certainly Skycrack can take plenty of games in this matchup, but I gotta tip my hat to Gren.
Yeah, I think that this build of Skycrag in particular and how Skycrag has moved as a deck has been much more ground focused with Cinder Yetis and things like that. And Grenadins are nothing if not good at clogging up the ground with 1/1s. And they can do it from the very beginning of the game, from the first turn of the game, which is just not what Skycrag wants to see, especially a build that has 14 1-drops. So I really like the Grenadin in this matchup.
Yeah, and here we see this game is already underway. No 1-drops from Ferris Bro. It's possible he actually took a bunch of them out just because your opponent's
Because it's a
playing
Grenadin.
Grenadin drones in assembly line. So Rakano Outlaw got answered by a torch. Here comes Vadius, though, one of the best cards you can have in this matchup. And Second Blue's got Double Madness, Combust. Okay. Madness with Combust is really nice, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely pretty strong. Not great against Vadius and not great against Borderlands Waykeeper, but I'm sure he'll find a way to make it work.
Yep. So this is where Skycry can make its hay, is with these Aegis evasive or hard to block units, as we see here. And Second Blue setting up the Madness Combust by madnessing this Vadius now, so you can use Madness Combust next turn on a non-Aegis unit.
I think you have enough life to just take this hit here, and that get value from these Grenadins out of your Stone Scar Scrapper.
Yeah, Scrapper's going to gain you it back eventually. The nice thing with Scrapper in this matchup is it doesn't really die. There's no obliterates from Skycrag. They can permafrost it, but you don't have to exhaust Scrapper to activate it. It's just a once per turn activation. So once that comes down, it's going to start gaining a lot of life and drawing a lot of cards. And Ferris Bro really needs to get Second Blue very, very low before that happens. But that doesn't look like it's going to happen with only a 2/3 flyer in play and Second Blue having access to a Devour this turn.
I mean, Borderlands Waykeeper is a evasive, difficult to answer threat, but it just doesn't do enough damage and it's really, really, really low tempo because it takes 2 turns to set up. However, Champion of Fury, not low tempo, not slow at all. That is a huge amount of damage. And then did he warp that Cinder Yeti?
That was a warp Cinder Yeti. So that is the kind of turn Ferris Bro needed. Now, Second Blue can get down a Scrap Tank here. Could also go Combustion Cell and power out the Scrapper as just a 4/6 blocker here. That does mean
I didn't like that play.
Doesn't that make him dead to permafrost? No, he's not dead to permafrost here, but now you're exposing your Scrapper to like burn. I think I'd rather get the Scrap Tank out that
I
turn.
think I just like having Grenadin drone over Combustion Cell. Like just having one little Grenadin.
Yeah.
Why not just play a 5-drop?
I think I would have preferred to see Cell into Scrap Tank, if anything. But you could just play Scrap Tank. You didn't need.
Yeah.
So you didn't even get an activation out of Scrapper. None of your other Grenadins died. Now you lost your life gain source with a flying clock on you.
Could see I think I might have played Sparkcatcher, sacrificed it, and then played well, this way you get to get a 6/6 Scrap Tank, but more blockers is good. But I think he's okay. I think he's going to survive here. I think Ferris Bro might not even. I think Ferris Bro might not even be able to do anything other than get in for 2.
I just feel really bad that I don't have my Stone Scar Scrapper anymore. I would have tried to take any line possible for that to not. Yep,
and that's
torch off the top kills you. I just think Scrapper is by far your best card in this matchup, and I think you could have played other things to try and survive that turn and get Scrapper going the next.
Yeah,
you would have had to draw undepleted power to even play it and activate it.
Well, so I just think Scrap Tank's more valuable to play on that board in general because it's more bodies to block with.
Yeah. If anything, I would have liked maybe Scrapper without sacrificing anything. The next turn you get to play Sparkcatcher, sacrifice 2 things, gain 2, draw out. That's a tough spot to be. You're under a lot of pressure. That double Yeti turn was huge.
It was very tough. And you don't know what Ferris Bro's going to draw there, right?
Oh, no.
Very easily he could brick. Very easily it could just be all burn, and you just need to go as fast as possible. So it was that Cinder Yeti Champion of Fury turn that
And just giving up that many bodies on the board, even against overwhelm units, that's makes me feel a little woozy.
Yeah, for sure. But I think we're into the final game here.
And that game did a good job of showing off like how ridiculous Skycry can get, where it's like, oh yeah, this Stone Scar deck, it's gonna stabilize. This looks good. And then boom, Champion of Fury. It's a card. You're dead.
Yep. I like this opener from Second Blue here.
Yeah, it's got Grenadin Drone into Spark Hatcher, Steward of the Past, Scrapper. Those are a lot of nice blockers, no doubt about it.
Yeah, Steward of the Past, not at its best here, but definitely not at its worst.
Right, yeah. It will mostly end up being Permafrost fodder, but when they don't have Permafrost, it's going to do a really nice job of, just getting in the way on the ground. And if they did bring in Soulfire Drake, which I wouldn't be shocked if Ferret's Bro did, it'll shut that down too.
Yeah, that's true. Soulfire Drake is, I think, okay. Flyers are very good against Grenadins, like we said, but I think it might be. I still think it's just stretching his mana a little bit, his power.
It is, but it's probably still better than some of your main deck cards, which is what we've been talking about before. I don't know off the top of my head what I'd want to cut for it. I just know that if I get into a game and I do have Soulfire Drake against Grenadins, my chance of winning the game go up.
I feel like Permafrost is actually not great in this matchup. Rock Slide is the other card that was frequently cut, but there's actually a lot of 1/1s here, so I don't know how to feel about Rock Slide.
Yeah, again, there's a bunch of like kind of meh stuff. At least Rock Slide can go face, but Permafrost, when you know your opponent's bringing in Stewards, they already have Stone Scar Scrapper as well, and it is also your best answer to trying to race a Scrap Tank. I think it's fine.
That's fair. It's just that it's very often that you just end up in this situation.
Yeah.
And Permafrost does nothing.
All right, so Second Blue hasn't drawn another power yet, but Torrent of Spiders is not a terrible grab. It's going to make at least 2 spiders pretty soon. Like, number of Grenadin dying will up the spider count here, as 2 Grenadin are already in the void.
Yeah, and 3 power to make 2 1/1 deadly spiders is about on curve.
Yep, torch the draw here for Second Blue. Not really particularly interested in torching a Cinder Yeti.
Yeah, I think you can hold it up, see if he maybe plays a Champion of Fury, and if not, I would probably go for the block, and then if he plays something in response, then I'll torch it.
Yeah, important thing to note here is once 2 of these Grenadins die. All right, there we go. 2 Champion of Fury. So yeah, we'll see 1 get torched. Oddly, not double blocking one of the Champion Fury. Not sure what that's about.
I guess because he has Annihilate. Wait, no, wait.
No.
What?
I cannot think of a reason to not double block one of these champions.
Yeah, if Annihilate would make it.
I can't think
the other way.
Okay. Really don't know why, but anyways, so that's 1 extra damage this turn and 1 extra damage for every other. Well, not 1 extra damage this turn because they all going forward it is. But anyways, more Grenadins to get in the way of this Champion of Fury. The number of spiders keeps ticking up. Once all these Grenadins are dead, it'll be 4.
Well, I think Second Blue is in a high enough position life-wise to make that kind of mistake. It'll be okay. Unless a Soulfire Drake just shows up.
Yeah, Soulfire Drake would be very bad for Second Blue here, but the fact that it hasn't been slammed onto the board yet means I think you're safe. Do you triple block this to play around Torch Blowout? Looks like the answer is yes.
I guess so. I mean, what if it was Rock Slide?
I think you also do that because you needed 3 more Grenadin to die to get an extra spider, so it was kind of free.
That's fine, yeah. And now 4 1/1 deadly spiders, 4 Dire Fang spiders. Pretty good.
They're not significantly better than Grenadins in this matchup, honestly. Like, there are some X2s from your opponent, but a lot of them have quick draw, so
yeah.
Just means when they die, you don't gain life from Stone Scar Scrapper. But still, they're attacking now. It looks like Ferret's Bro has maybe a couple fast spells in hand or something. Here comes Vadius.
Vadius is definitely the kind of card Ferret's Bro wants to see. I'm curious what the rest of his hand is, because he just hasn't really cast anything for a while.
You're just going to hold back Dire Fang Spider to start chump blocking now, even though Vadius only has 3 strength. I guess there's a chance Vadius gets a weapon equipped, and he would want to start blocking that if Vadius goes up to say 5
I
strength.
think it's fine. You're only missing 1 damage, and the potential upside is, gaining up to 5 life.
Yeah, that's fair. But and I'm fine with
Alright,
this no
good.
attack, no block specifically because of that. You're only holding it back to block if it got a weapon. Now I like going back to A spacing and just having like,
Yeah.
ooh, and we're gonna see the block on Stewart, and then what? Torch to finish it off.
That's an interesting line from Ferris Bro.
Like a line that will make it very hard for him to win. It means he's dying slightly slower, but
Okay.
man, this is now you're down to 9. You don't have a second threat. Vadius comes back in again. I mean, it's a tough spot to be in if your hand's all torches, anyways. But then I'd rather just try and point them all at face and hope that gets the.
Right now he's dead. But
Yeah.
we know we think he's got a combat trick because he attacked him with that Vadius. Hopefully for him it's rock slide, spiders, or a spider and a. Okay, well it's a mortar.
Order. Yep.
Live at 1.
Could have had 7 damage to face, maybe 9. But he would have taken 3 extra this turn. Yeah, it's just kind of a bad spot to be in as Vadius comes back in. And I don't know how Ferridsbro gets himself out of this one.
I think the answer is he.
I think with that much burn in hand, I would have tried to find a way to point it all at face rather than pointing it at.
Yeah, second blue would be at 2 if all of that had gone at second blue's face, but that's not where it went, and second blue takes this match, moving on to the finals where they're gonna face off against Alarmadillo in the
Grenadins
Grenadin
versus
versus Xenon.
All right, that'll be the battle of I can outgrind anyone, right?
Yeah, that's gonna be a grindy match.
I've found Obelisk decks to be another one of Grenadin's weaknesses, though. Maybe not this kind of Obelisk deck, though. I'm more thinking of Praxis tokens. Grenadin's just like is trying to go wide, but your opponent's also going wide with bigger things. Maybe Xenon won't be quite as bad because Madness you can still leverage because it's Xenon mid range. It's not really a go wide Obelisk deck. It's a go tall Obelisk deck, which you don't see too often. So that'll be real interesting. Madness is a very scary card for Xenon to stare down.
Definitely. I think I'm still favoring Xenon slightly just because of the power of Obelisk, but I could be wrong. Maybe I'm underestimating the power of Stone Scar Scrapper because on camera today, Stone Scar Scrapper hasn't been that impressive, but I know that it can do so much more. Getting 2 activations can.
I mean, it was very good in that game that we caught the tail end of. I'm sure the reason his hand was that full was that he had a lot of Stone Scar Scrapper activations, but I know I've outgrinded things like Chalice because of that card.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, the main deck, Flamestokers might come back to bite the Grenadin deck here in this matchup, but we'll talk more about that after we take the short break, get the match set up, and get back to you with the finals of this very first ETS of the new set.